Good afternoon, and welcome to Jeff and the Rabbi. Now, have you ever noticed that every new movie or Netflix series you watch these days sports a cast of dominating females that are somehow able to beat the heck out of 4 or 5 men at the same time?
Punch him in the face.
Right there, boom. Right. It's amazing. And the so-called male characters have been pansified down to Mattel Ken doll eunuchs with all masculine attributes watered down further than my father's liquor cabinet the night before my junior prom. It's true. At the same time, the progressive left is teaching us that masculinity in men is toxic. They are rebranding women to be beer-guzzling macho chicks with Chuck Norris fighting skills and Buddy Hackett pull-my-finger humor. If viral machismo is so poisonous in men and boys, why would we want to teach these characteristics to women and girls? Doesn't make any sense. The new progressive feminists in the Me Too era are the real misogynists. They don't really believe that feminine is equal to or better than masculine. They bow down to masculinity so much that they want to turn all little girls into belching Birkenstock wearing Starbucks baristas with the attitude of perpetual Seattle Sadie Hawkins dance attendees. Think that went through for a minute.
Like,
you're going to think that. Whoa. Like most things in the new left, their feminism is just another lie. They view old-time real feminism as weak and powerless. They just want to turn men into panty waists and co-opt their masculinity for themselves. Is it possible that men can be masculine and women can be feminine and they both be equal? I'm pretty sure that's the way God planned it, and it has worked out pretty okay so far. So chill out, Ashley Judd. So chill out, Ashley Judd. The only reason people were listening to you in the first place is because of your feminine charms. Putting little girls in hiking boots and cargo pants isn't going to launch you to the top of the pecking order. Not going to happen. My question for the rabbi is then, can women and men maintain their different roles and still be equal?
Wow.
I just want to get that
out.
A
lot of references in there that
references.
I'm like totally clueless to, but I think I got the general idea.
I'll explain most of them to you after the show.
So you were very appropriately pointing out that everyone wants to
let's stop right there. The rabbi has never said I have appropriately pointed out anything.
Yeah,
so
that's
in itself, this is a start.
Yeah, right.
This is
unaccustomed as you are to being appropriate.
Right. It's never happened yet, but I thank the rabbi for that. I'll go ahead.
Yeah, that's right. That's a special moment.
Yes,
that's a little bit of my Thanksgiving cheer
Thank
here.
you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Good feeling and all that.
Yes.
So when you see women, I think one of the big things is, the women athletes now, and then they score and they win and yes and all that,
Yeah.
So the pity is that in order to make women and men equal and equal pay and all the things that they felt that women were being denied, so in order to do that, the world has stripped femininity of any value, because the push seems to be able to say women can do that too, whatever that is, and that is usually something that men were doing.
Right.
So women can do that also. Well, like you said, women can punch out the bad guy. Women can be strong. Women can win. Women want to win and all that type of stuff. So what happens is, and the truth is, yeah, you know what? We know women could do that all along. The truth is, I know women could pick up a gun and shoot somebody.
That's true too.
I know a woman could punch somebody out. That I'm absolutely sure that women could do all of these things. The question is, what happens to femininity? You see, there's masculinity and femininity, and the two are valuable because they interact with each other and they bring about this nice, healthy, balanced whole. And femininity is being lost. You would think that in this era of the woman and all that type of stuff, actually femininity is being lost, because this world, which is a very Greek-oriented, the Western world, very Greek-oriented, is actually a masculine-oriented world. We all know that it's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game.
they say.
That's kind of a feminine approach.
That would be
to
more
things.
feminine, yeah.
That would be a feminine thing. Femininity appreciates
I don't know.
process.
I don't know if that's true. My wife tells me about her mahjong game. They like throw the tiles if they don't win. So I don't know if it works that way.
But femininity, whether women or men, and this is maybe where we keep making our mistake, and we keep identifying femininity with women and masculinity with men. But what we need to really do is appreciate there is a feminine approach, there are feminine traits, and there are masculine traits. And those feminine traits and masculine traits need to work in consonance with each other. They need to work together. And that's where our society is losing the feminine trait. As much as they make women equal and equal and equal, that doesn't mean that if women get equal pay, that doesn't mean the society's been feminized. What it really means is actually that our society praises and prizes masculinity. So let's say it's not how you win, it's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game. That's a feminine trait. Results, i.e. winning, meaning it's not, it's not whether you win or winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. Right?
Absolutely, right.
Right, that's the other side of it, right?
Right.
Right. It's all about winning. It's all about, it doesn't matter how you play the game in a minute. It matters if you win. That's a very masculine trait. It is good to have that masculine trait. But that feminine trait is also good. The process is also important. How you play the game is important. Right? There is value to that. So by taking women who generally or more innately bear the feminine traits, and by masculinizing them and therefore making them more like winners, we want to win, yes, we won, So all of that doesn't do us any good. It might make the women be getting the same pay as the men, but it really doesn't as a society help, because what we've done is we have rejected the feminine. And what we need to do is we need to be bringing out the feminine. So instead of letting women teach us how we can be more feminine, which supposedly that is supposed to be, or bringing out the feminine in aspects of society, bringing the femininity to society, we've instead tried to promote women as being men who can be winners and beat you up and come home, as I saw Budweiser ad. Girl comes home, goes into her apartment, sinks down on the couch, reaches into the cooler, and pulls out a beer.
I like that. Yeah. But I can tell you, though, feminism wasn't always like that. Feminism used to respect the feminine. In fact, the big problem was men are too toxic. Right. Masculine is too much masculinity. If women just only had more control, if we elect women to Congress, then we'd have that other aspect of femininity there.
Right.
But for some reason, this new progressive age, that's no longer the case.
Right, we don't find the feminine congressman now.
Right.
What we find is women who are congressmen who are congressmen.
Right.
Women who are congressmen. Women who show I can be tough. I can lead the army. I can be the executive chief and all that type of stuff. So then what we've lost is the feminine, and it's a pity actually. Not a pity, but it's going to have to balance itself back out.
Right.
Because when we spoke about this last time, the description, the famous Midrash describes God on Mount Sinai as the groom marrying the bride, and Israel's the bride. And Israel's job many times is to bring out those traits, such as the idea of relationship as opposed to autonomy, right? We want to have process as opposed to results. Now, of course, there's a place for results. There's a place for autonomy. There's a place for abstract thinking, and there's a place for concrete thinking. Women are much more, the feminine is more of a concrete way of thinking. But there has to be a place for the abstract. Men or masculine is more of a male, the abstract is more of a masculine way. We need both of those. So to try to, let's say that, for example, pushing more women into the arts, the math and sciences. It's a big deal.
Right.
Get more women into the math and sciences, which is very good because everyone feels that that's where the power is. If you got the math, you got the sciences, you got the power. That's what everyone feels. But what they don't realize is, where's the abstract thinking?
You lose that.
Right.
Right.
So if we get the men are into the abstract, if the men are into the to the abstract, the women are supposed to be bringing that concrete. So we want to train women to start to think abstract. What happens to the concrete that they bring in? Essence, essence versus status. Men have been into status for a long time. Men are generals and captains and majors and lieutenants,
right.
and everything that men do, they staticize it somehow.
That's true.
I'm the president of the fraternity. I'm the vice president of the fraternity. I'm the second vice president of the fraternity. Right. I'm the doorkeeper of the fraternity. But everyone, that's like a very masculine type of thing. Okay? But women are more about essence. But, like, who are you really? Who are you really? So the feminine brings out what is your real essence, not your status. It's good to have status, but it's good to have essence. As we move towards trying to equalize women, it seems as though the world has found that rather than bringing out and valuing the feminine traits, we have devalued them and said, well, women can have the masculine traits. And then you have a world that is only masculine, that only doesn't care, that just wants results. Results, give me the results, show me the data.
And it's not just that, but what you're doing is you're harming women. I mean, it's like saying taking something that you're born for, that you're good at doing. This is, women are feminine naturally, and saying, okay, well, that's not good enough anymore. That's not good enough. That's not respected. That's not looked at as something that's excelling, and is looked at, actually is looked down upon. And so you now have to be masculine. Well, it's pretty hard for a woman who is feminine to compete in a masculine world. That's why they have a women's golf tee. And there's a man, not that I can golf, but there's a women's golf tee and a man's golf tee. If you're now telling women they now have to hit from the man's tee, life is going to be more difficult, and it harms women. It doesn't really help women.
Well, it doesn't bring out. What is happening is we're entering into a world that is being stripped of the feminine. And that is a big problem, especially, as I mentioned, because that is one of the jobs of the nation of Israel, males and females, is to bring some of these feminine traits back out into the world.
Right.
The relationship as opposed to autonomy. There is a certain value to autonomy, but relationship is also very important. I just was talking to a rabbi, and he made me smile. As I'm speaking to this rabbi in his synagogue, I was in a different synagogue on Saturday, and I'm speaking to the rabbi. This is after the services, and they're having their social. And I'm speaking to the rabbi, and the rabbi's wife walks up to him. And I just laughed because this happens to me all the time. I'm a rabbi, happens all the time.
Right.
The rabbi's wife walks up to him and said, this so-and-so's, this is their last weekend here in town. They're moving away. They would probably feel really nice if you acknowledge them. So the rabbi just pounded on the table. Okay, everyone, we want to say goodbye to the so-and-sos. We've really loved having you here. You've been so important to our community. We're going to miss you a ton. Right? Okay, the rabbi didn't pick up on that.
He would never hit that.
But
right.
Mrs. Rabbi picked up on that.
Right.
And she knows they'll feel good. Everyone will feel good. Everyone will feel prized. It will make the community better and healthier if it acknowledges these things, right? But the rabbi didn't pick up on that. So what do you want to do? Make Mrs. Rabbi into like a tough guy, like her husband, and then no one will ever acknowledge the guy that was here for 2 years and move away. So this is where we are missing out. And this is part of what Israel, the nation Israel, brings in. So it's not even men and women as much as we as a society have to watch out, because we have ignored the feminine and trying to show that women can really be the masculine. That means we're prizing only the masculine
That's true.
delegitimizing the feminine,
Right.
and we end up with a world that doesn't have the feminine attributes, because who wants them, right? The men don't want them, and the women now don't want them because they don't pay as much. So nobody wants them. Well, then you can end up with a society without the feminine, a society that disdains the feminine, and that's going to be a society that's in big trouble.
And that's kind of where we're heading, which is a shame, because you're taking the greatest characteristics that the many women have and telling them they're not worth anything anymore.
Right.
Those aren't characteristics that you should adhere to anymore. You tell little girls that clearly, and so then what happens? Can a society come back from that?
Yeah. So who would be the best teachers of that? So the best teachers of that, if women or the feminine is found primarily in women, it's the women that bring that to the world, and they teach that to the men, just like the men provide their masculine to the women, and that makes for the good balance in the world. So if we lose it, what do we do about bringing it back, right? So the only way to bring it back is to value it, because nobody wants to do those things that are not valued. People, if a certain field is paying more, everyone goes into that field. If it's not paying so much, everyone runs away from it. So the same thing, we have to value certain things, certain traits, so that they become attractive again, and people will want to get into them. People will want to do them. So start to value the relationship, value the essence, value the concrete, value some of these traits that they're identified particularly with women. The process, value process again. To talk about the process is important to get there. Pretty soon it becomes a cutthroat world, because all you want is the results. Just show me the results. I don't care about the process. Well, process is also important. But if we don't value process, no one will want to do it. So we have to value and appreciate those things, and appreciate a woman who is willing to say, that's what I represent. Those are the things that I represent. I represent relationship. I represent process. I represent essence. You might not pay as much for that, but I represent that, and that's important to me. And that's what I'm standing up for.
Makes sense. I mean, kind of like everything comes back to Alabama football, I guess, is what we're saying. This,
that was obvious.
I knew that's where you're going, so I was going to jump on that there. Clearly, the quarterback. I mean, the quarterback's the most important position. Everybody thinks it's the most important position. Alabama loses their quarterback last week. Last week he's out. But the receivers, who don't get as much glory as the quarterback, now we got to bring in some guys not as good as a quarterback, but the receivers still playing their position as receiver are going to have to take charge now, catch the football. I know it's not the glory of being the quarterback, the leader of the team, but their position is just as important.
Well, actually, if you lose a quarterback, so it's great. If you've got a good, strong quarterback, and there's a status, and he's got the status, and he's got leadership, oh, that's fantastic. What happens when you lose it? When you lose it, then you need to process. That's where process steps up.
We're going to be running the ball a lot more next week.
So you have to say, okay, listen, we don't have our leader, but we have to understand what's the process, right? What's going on here? How are the people going to work together? What's the, can we accomplish this through the synergy of the relationships and the essences? So, yeah, sometimes you need that strong leader, and that'll get you there, but sometimes you won't have that. And what do you do when you don't have that? That's when you need some of this other stuff.
There's a lot of people that are blocking and catching and receiving and doing whatever. They're different roles.
That's right.
But they're just as important.
That's right.
I knew the rabbi would get this to Alabama football somehow. He always does for some reason. How this happens.
That's it. I should have started with that.
You should have started
right
off the bat. Well, this is actually interesting. So just, I guess, to close it, if we were saying, we could be great modern day people, progressive people in the world, but if you take away the significant and most important role of individuals, and femininity is just as important as masculinity, society can't sustain itself.
I'll tell you the truth. It all started like this. At one point, someone looked around and said, hey, the women are not being treated right, and they're not being appreciated. And they started off trying to promote femininity, but they saw it really wasn't getting there, so they kind of threw in the towel, and they said, okay, let's instead switch the women into being men. And now, yeah, they're getting there. The pay gap is narrowing, and all this stuff is narrowing, and it's really great. But the society as a whole is lost because the femininity is being lost from society, and that's a big price to pay. And it's got to be recovered because no society can ever be without the feminine as part of that mix. It's got to be in that balance.
Excellent. Makes sense to me. Always, as I say, you want to find out about women, you go to a rabbi. Now we know what to do. All right, we will probably be that, and no, Holly, we'll be back next week.
God willing.
With another great episode of Jeff and the Rabbi.